Okay, let's get started. Just checking in again on our little dairy auction here. And I'll show you the page where you can check it, right? So GDT price index, there's nothing. You can see the last one, negative 3.5. The last one was a pretty bad one. And if I go to Google, right, the way I can find, I can just type in GDT auction. You can see I have it saved here, GDT auction. Here it comes, GDT events results. And the most recent one they have is 7th of November. And you can see that was a bad one, right? Negative 3.5. You see it right there? In fact, this is, what is this? This is the global dairy trade auction. You see the biggest export in New Zealand. Why is the New Zealand dollar so weak? One of their biggest exports and one of their biggest components of their GDP is dairy products. So if the price of dairy products is falling, that's bad news for New Zealand. So you can see the last three. This one was negative 2.4, negative 1%, negative 3.5. And so they have one of these every 2 weeks. They have a dairy auction. They're having one right now. Right at this moment, there's one is occurring. Okay, and it can really move the currency because, you know, it's just like we talk about oil is a big deal for Canada and gold is a big deal for Australia, and so is copper. Dairy products are a big deal for New Zealand. And New Zealand is a huge exporter of milk and things like that. So we pay attention to GDT stands for Global Dairy Trade. This auction is going on right now, and it's actually on your economic calendar, right? GDT price index, and there's the last one, negative 3.5. Now, we don't know when that auction is going to end, but it's probably going to end very soon, right? Maybe within the next hour, it's going to end. And so you could see, sometimes we see intraday gaps in New Zealand dollar when this auction comes to a conclusion. So personally, I'm hoping that it gaps higher, or I'm hoping that it moves higher because I want to short. So I'm saying send it up to me because I'm hoping to short. I've got my stop, my target. My target's down here. All right, you can see what I'm looking at. Support around 6,700. I'm hoping it has a nice push up, but I'm willing to be flexible. If it doesn't push up that high, I think it looks like it's moving right now a little bit. Let me go to a 5-minute chart. No, it's not really moving. I'm willing to be flexible. If it doesn't move up that high, initially this is where I wanted to short it. 68.35 is my 68.35 is resistance, big time resistance, right? Because it used to be support, bounce, bounce, right? Both sides. So that's where I prefer to short it, is 68.35. However, I know that the auction could blast it right through 68.35. So I'm being patient here. And I'm waiting to see if it does blast through 68.35. I'm not going to be in the trade. I'm going to be looking to short higher. I'm kind of hoping that's what happens. 68.35, if you look at the daily, it's been a significant level going back for months, but it's definitely coming into play in the short term as well. Can we trade New Zealand USD on TradeStation? This is a great question. TradeStation is no longer a Forex broker, but they are still pumping out Forex information. I believe they sold their accounts to Gain. So I think this is the Gain data feed going through TradeStation charts. So you can still chart Forex on here. And I still use it here in the classroom because it is such an excellent tool. There's really no charting package I like better than TradeStation. I think other Forex brokers are also fine, but the charting package is just superior for TradeStation. That's why I'm using it here. But no, you cannot. Yeah, you cannot take a Forex position on TradeStation in the U.S. At least. They are no longer. I don't know about outside of the U.S., but I know that inside of the U.S. they have ceased. They sold the accounts to Gain Capital, which is Forex.com. Okay. So a little bit of movement here on the 5-minute, just nothing to get excited about. Nothing to get excited about here. So we're just kind of waiting here. We've got our game plan, and if you really wanted to get the full game plan, please go back and look at the first session from today, because we basically spent almost the entire half hour setting this trade up and going into really great detail about it. So I don't want to bore the people who saw that one by giving them a rerun for the second session, but we are prepared here. So we are prepared for this. Okay. All right. The UK as well, says Richard. So TradeStation, apparently, if TradeStation is not offering Forex in the UK, then I would venture a guess that they're not offering it anywhere. Right. So yeah, Oanda is terrific. I realized that they had problems, but I thought they were fine. For me, they were always good to me. What can I say? Oanda has been fine. I've been using Oanda as well recently. Oanda is fine. Gain, I don't know. Gain is I haven't heard anything bad about Gain. So they're probably okay too. I really don't know. I'm not trying to play favorites with anyone, but it's a shame. Yeah. But TradeStation decided they didn't want to be in Forex any longer. And I can tell why, because TradeStation was a stock house and a futures house for many years. And the culture in Forex is just very different. And to me, if I call TradeStation and ask a Forex question, I don't want to wait 15 minutes while they try to find somebody who knows what I'm talking about, right? And that was a real problem. Is that they have customer service, but 90% of the customer service people don't understand Forex, and that was a big issue over there. Okay. Oanda seems fairly good at filling stops, says Richard. Yeah, I've been, I've used an account over there for a while, and I have never had any problems. I can't think of one problem I've ever had at Oanda, but then again, I never really had any problems at FXCM. Maybe I'm just too easygoing. I don't know, but I never seem to have any problems. But yeah, I haven't had any issues at Oanda. Or any other brokers for that. I can't name one broker right now that's in existence currently where I've had a problem. So, but then again, my style of trading doesn't really lend itself to a lot of problems. I set my entries, I set my stop and my targets, and I wait, right? And so I'm not chasing after stuff. I'm not in a fast market trying hard to get a fill. I'm always waiting for the market to come to me. And I think if you're following that type of philosophy, I think you're just going to have less problems. I think the people who have problems are the people who are always chasing stuff. Like they're following a philosophy that tends to be problematic, right? They're always chasing stuff, and then they get a bad fill and they call up and they complain about the bad fills. But meanwhile, they're pursuing a policy that is going to lead to problems. They're pursuing a philosophy that is going to lead to problems. Okay, so, but really, if you're laid back and you're letting the market come to you, I think you're going to have a lot fewer problems. Oh, and I've had to manually feed my trades into a journal as the reporting is poor. Okay. You mean as far as when you look in the activity section and the activity doesn't always seem to match up. You're like, wow, where's my exit? I don't see my exit here in the activity. Things like that. Have you had those issues? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's been an issue too. Yeah, you're correct. You're correct. I thought maybe it was my imagination. But yeah, sometimes my activity doesn't seem quite right either. But I figure give them time, they'll sort it out. They've been very good with a lot of things. One thing I like about Oanda is core spreads. And I know it's not available everywhere because I was just up in Canada and I noticed that Canadian traders using Oanda don't have core spreads yet. Core spreads simply means you pay a commission and you get a tighter spread. And I think this is a good thing. I would rather pay a small commission and trade with a tighter spread. It makes sense to me because if you have a tighter spread, then there is less of a chance that you're going to get stopped out, right? You know, the tighter the spread, the better. But yeah, there were never any reporting issues. I used FXCM for a long time. They never had any reporting issues. As far as recording the trades, every trade was recorded flawlessly. One of the things that I'm hoping will happen is that maybe a lot of those ex-FXCM people will find their way over to Oanda and maybe help them with some of these issues because let's face it, FXCM's not in the US anymore either. And maybe some of those folks are looking for a job, it can help them with their problems. All right, let's stop talking about this. Let's take a look at some charts. Okay, so we already set up New Zealand. Let's take a look at Aussie. Aussie looks like it is also just a brutal downtrend here. So what is it with Australia and New Zealand? They're just getting creamed by the US dollar here. I mean, this is brutal stuff. And when I see this, like I start to think, okay, moving averages. Give me that exponential. Look at it right down the 10, right? I think we've got potential on the 10. Let me push it out to the 20. 20 might be better. No, too far. So the 10 is there. And you can see that we've been bouncing, but I don't know if it's been poking through. But we've got a lot of candles on one side of the 10-day moving average. So it's a pretty strong trend. And it looks like we want to sell short around 7,600 or so. 7604 is the 10-day moving average. So I haven't used this yet on Aussie recently. But it seems that we have a string of candles lately where the 10-day is coming into play. If you've been using it, there's a chance you've been stopped out because it has been poking through. But by how much? Right, the moving average here is 76.81 and the high is 76.94. So here it comes through by 13 pips. That's not enough to stop you out. It comes through by 13 pips. How do I know this? Because my stop, well, when I use this trade, if you're using my method is half of the ATR when using this tactic. Don't confuse things. I don't always use half of the ATR. I only use half of the ATR when using this method. Okay? So if it comes through by 13 pips, that's not enough. Here it's going to come through by how much? The moving average is 17, the high is 29. Here it comes through by 12. So all these ones where it's coming through here, it looks like it's going to stop you out, but it's not. Okay? It looks scary, but it's not going to get you. So even like today, for example, the entry as of right now is 76.04. But I'll tell you what, if the price comes up there, it's going to have to come a little bit higher. Why am I putting my entry a little bit higher? I am planning to enter on the moving average. And the moving average is 76.04. But if the price comes up, it will push that moving average a little bit higher. My best guess right now is that it'll push it up about 3 pips or so. Okay, that's my guess. Now, as it gets closer, I'll refine that, right? But right now, it looks like the entry is 76.07. That's only for today. Tomorrow, the moving average will be in a different place. So this is only good for today. Let's make that number green because it's the entry. The stop would be half of the ATR. So let's put the stop in place. First of all, I'm going to need the ATR, and that's average true range. Now the ATR is 54. Now remember I was saying if the price comes through by 12 or 13 pips like it does up here, it's not going to get you. Why? Because, well, this is why. The ATR is 54. That means my stop is going to be 27 above the moving average. So we're assuming that the moving average is going to be, right now the moving average is 76.04, but we know that if the price comes up, it's going to raise that moving average just a little bit. So we're assuming the entry right now at 76.07. Add half of 54 to 76.07, right? Half of 54 is 27. Add 7 pips to 27, your stop is 76.34. 76.34. Remember, this is only good for today. Once the next candle forms, all these numbers are thrown away and we recalculate if we're not already in. So that's the setup for today. To sell short at 70 Aussie USD at 76.07 with a stop at 76.34, no target. No target. The way that we will get out of the trade is we will trail the stop until it is hit. We will trail the stop until it is hit. That's the only way we will get out of this trade. Interesting, right? So in other words, like here, if we had got in here, we would have got in on the moving average, stop up above, and then just trail the stop down. That's how this one is played, and then you just keep trailing it until the stop ends, until the trend ends. So that's our setup for Aussie for today. Selling short at 76.07, stop at 76.34. This would have to be executed during today's candle. Once a new candle forms, this whole setup is out the window. So it has to happen today. Okay. Okay, let's get to some of your comments and questions are coming in. I'm falling behind here while I was doing the setup, so let's get caught up. So Richard, yeah, I definitely agree with your comment. That's one thing I forgot to mention, that journal issue. Can we have a look at euro? We actually looked at that during the last session, but if I have time, I'll circle back to that. IB is also very good for Forex. Yeah, I haven't tried it, but I heard, other people say that they liked it. I haven't tried it personally. Ed, is crude oil going to test 61, 62 resistance? And this is a very good question. Also, 0.73 could be the reversal point, and I think that refers to Aussie. Well, let's see. What's the likely reversal point? There was a big reversal here, and that's somewhere between 73 and 74. I have 7373 actually as a potential reversal point, and another reversal point at 7335. So yeah, those are two potential reversal points for Aussie coming up. But you know what? If we short it, we're not really worried about that. If we short it, we're just going to ride it down until we get taken out by our stop. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at crude oil. Crude oil is fascinating right now. I'm going to pull up at CL, and we'll get the continuous contract up on the board here. Now, let me get rid of the indicators. We don't need those for this. Crude oil above 55 is interesting, but you notice it hasn't really got above 55. 55 was resistance for a long time. I'll take you back. 55 was resistance. Really, 55 was the highest point it could reach for like a couple of years. Right in here. And this goes back to 2015. And then it finally breaks through last month. It finally breaks 55, and resistance becomes support. Textbook right there. Resistance becoming support. And 55 right now is support for oil. Okay. Now, that's so far. But I would like to point out that absolutely nothing else about oil is indicating that this is going to keep moving. Consider this. Dollar Canada. Canadian dollar is in a downtrend here. It is not confirming the uptrend in oil. In fact, oil and the Canadian dollar are moving opposite for the first time that I can remember. So this uptrend in oil is not confirmed by the Canadian dollar. That's one. Now, check this out. This is oil since July 1st, oil in green, oil stocks in red. What do you see? Oil is up about 18% since July 1st, but oil stocks have not confirmed. Oil stocks are only up about 2%. What is going on here? Absolutely nothing is confirming the breakout. Nothing confirms this breakout. So nothing in stocks, nothing in Forex confirms it. So I think right now we're above 55, probably due to Middle East tensions, probably due to tension between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And I don't know if it's going to last, right? I don't have faith in it because I wouldn't call it a bubble, but I would say it just doesn't, I don't think it has legs. You know, I don't think it can stay. I mean, look at, I want to show you a chart of Exxon. I wouldn't call it a bubble, but I don't have a lot of faith in it. Look at Exxon, XOM. I mean, this is a terrible looking chart. It jumped off a cliff. I'm going to throw the 200-day moving average. I mean, this is a stock. I would not buy this stock, right? And this is the biggest oil company in the US. That's a 150-day moving average. I'll make it a 200-day. Here's your 200-day moving average. So Exxon was under its 200-day. There's the opening bell. And we finally get a double bottom, we get a boom, big jump, we get a rally, we break above the 200-day, and it fades, and it breaks under the 200, and now the 200 is resistance. And frankly, if I were trading stocks, you see this gap, and you see that 200-day moving average? That looks like a brick wall to me right now. I'd probably short it. If it hit that 200-day moving average, I'd probably short it. If it can fill that gap, I'd probably short Exxon. And I'm talking about in a bull market, in a raging bull market where we're hitting high after high after high. This stock is under its 200-day moving average. In other words, it just is not, there's nothing about this it's not that it's a bubble, it's just that there's no. And there you go. You can see it opening. Okay, it's coming on up. Okay, bring it on up, man. I'll short it. I'll hit that thing with a hammer like Thor if that thing gets to the 200-day moving average. Okay, so bring it on up. All right, so and how much you want to bet? There's shorts are going to be waiting up there at the 200, waiting for that gap to fill. All right, so yeah, I just don't believe in it right now. I think it's temporarily above. Eventually, I think it's going to slide back under 55. That's all. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the question. Great questions. Wow, where does the time go? We're almost out of time already. We'll take a quick peek over at the data center here, the Forex calendar from FX Street. Oh, another bad GDT index, down 3.4. Let's go back to our here. Let's see if it reflects up here. Yeah, there it is. And that was their 200th event. They're all happy about that. So look at that. Another two bad events in a row. Down 3.4. Let's see if there's a reaction in New Zealand dollar. It's coming up. It's actually rising. That's weird. Give me a 5-minute. Okay, it's coming up. Okay, bring it up then. I was not expecting this type of reaction. I would have thought it would fall, but it's coming higher. Okay, well, I'm probably going to short it. Let's see how high it comes first. But this is fascinating, isn't it? All right, so a bad number. And yet, New Zealand dollar getting stronger on it. So there might be more to this than meets the eye, right? Fascinating stuff going on out there. So GDT, global dairy trade auction. There you see, like they break it down individually, like as if I don't understand. I don't know what half of this stuff means. I don't know what rennet casein means or any of that, but man, it got whacked down 12.6%, right? You know, so I don't know all the ins and outs of this, but I know that New Zealand's moving higher despite what appears to be a bad result of the auction. Interesting, fascinating. Okay, but it still looks like, okay, it's not a huge move, but it looks like to me it could still be a short at 60, maybe 68.35. So maybe I adjust my game plan down to 68.35. There's no big leap here in price, but okay, it's not coming up to 68.85. So maybe I adjust down to 68.35 and I sell short there because there's clearly resistance at 68.35. So bring it up so I can short it. That's my idea right now. Okay, gang, and that's going to wrap it up for this session. Thanks so much for listening. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? Talking about trading and hanging out, spending some time. I really enjoyed it a lot. So thanks for listening. Ed Ponsi here.